stay a while and listen.
And welcome to the Agony of Positivity podcast. I am Ross.
I am Saul. Sorry, I'm type man right now. I was typing in something.
Typing.
I am Saul.
Typing is
I was
hard.
typing.
We are here for another episode. Were you aware that between I guess we broke it down into seasons, but as far as continuous shows, I cannot talk. We are getting close to 100 different episodes.
Yeah.
I don't know that we're going to do anything special, but if we do, it would probably be on that one. So,
Yes, we'll help. Ross will eat a birthday cake.
I'll eat some. I still got those circus peanuts from where Cody didn't win the title, so I didn't have to eat the circus peanuts.
Or what we could do is, because I saw this on Ryback Eats, we can go to Arby's. We can go to Arby's and we can order off the secret menu Meat Mountain. We're gonna have you eat Meat Mountain.
That sounds delicious. But isn't that what Meatwad was in Aqua Teen Hunger Force when he joined the circus from the Prince of Jupiter?
Maybe. I didn't watch that show, so I don't know.
What's funny is you have no idea if what I just said is true or if I just made stuff up. But because it was Aqua Teen, you're like, probably.
Yes, pretty much.
I'll do some ASMR eating of the circus peanuts, followed by Meat Mountain. Hey, I have a question for you. Once upon a time, you worked for a White Castle, did you not?
I did.
When they cook the meat patties, is it actually true that they never touch the grill, that they actually lay on a bed of onions and steam?
Yeah, actually. Yeah.
Okay. I was watching someone...
Now, how you're supposed to cook it, yes.
Right.
How I've seen it cooked before, right. Like people barely, because I've seen people, you run out of the onion juice, I guess.
The onion bed?
The onion mixture, and it'll just be like a few onions on there, and mostly just onion water, and then people put the stuff on there. So
okay, but if you're following it to the letter, then there'd actually be a bed of onions, and the meat is on top of that, and steam. Yep. Then the bun goes on top of that to further absorb the onion goodness. And
then there's a special grate that you put on top of the whole cooking process, because it takes I think it was 3 to 4 minutes.
Yeah.
To cook it, but the steam grate has special holes in it to circulate the steam or something.
So it's kind of like a pressure cooker.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know.
I watched some video. So you sent me a link a while ago to Ed 209 from RoboCop.
Yes.
And I watched that, and it ruined the YouTube algorithm. It got crazy. So somehow, all I had for my recommended, because I don't actually hit the subscribe button to very much stuff. I know that's horrible.
Yeah.
But I just like to see what YouTube sends me without sorting through anything. And all of a sudden, every recommended video was basically rock climbing and RoboCop.
Okay.
Now, the rock climbing is because Magnus, one of the climber guys, he does stuff with Juji, which is one of the super athletic bodybuilder who does weird gymnastics and challenges and all that stuff. So that makes sense, because from the climbing I was watching that, so that's fine. But yeah, so all of a sudden there's RoboCop, and then one day after I watched basically the entirety of RoboCop in 2-minute clips,
through clips,
of 2 minutes of all the different stuff. After the guy gets obliterated by the toxic waste. If no one's ever watched RoboCop, it's murder porn. That's honestly what it is. And but after that particular video, for some reason, basically dry aging steaks came up, and through that, I've learned an awful lot about dry aging steaks, and now I want to try it. But it eventually got to someone making the Harold and Kumar order that they do, and Harold and Kumar go to White Castle. And instead of just being normal about it, they decide to make the White Castle order. So he got like his ground beef, and he's like, I had to find the highest fat content meat I could find, and I still don't think it's correct. And he had like 70-30 ground beef.
Okay.
But he's like, so what we got to do is so he's got like a rolling pin out and parchment paper, and he's freezing it. And then he's like, I bought this metal straw that's the exact size of the holes, of the White Castle holes. And then he debated while doing that to 60 White Castles or whatever it was, whether it really was for the steam or if it was to save money, because they reused the holes. Yeah.
Well, now in the videos that I watch, because when you get hired on,
right, they have training videos.
Training. The holes is what makes it cook as fast as it does,
right?
And as supposedly as, I think it's basically not about the taste. I think it's more about cooking it fast.
Right. Yeah. Well, his thought was that it was really to save money, because then you take all those little meat holes and you can turn those into patties too. But
could be
like you're saying, they're clearly going to make it cook faster if they're cooking it by steam.
Yeah.
So I remember where I live, the White Castle, because I don't think they always had the holes. And I kind of remember when that became a thing, unless I'm wrong. But they had these these big wooden cow cutouts that had holes in it. And then someone one night stole them. And it had holy cows stolen from White Castle in the police briefs. It was a good time. But yeah, so he made a big deal of like, he chopped up like 5 bags of onions or something ridiculous it looked like. It's like, find your biggest bowl in your house and just start dicing onions until the bowl won't hold anymore, and you might have enough. It's like,
you know what's...
I'm never going to make 60 White Castles self-made at home, but all right.
No. What's really good with White Castle is actually deep frying one of the hamburger patties.
Yeah.
It's actually pretty good. We did all kinds of stuff.
Well, I would imagine. Well, and
slow times.
Yeah. Well, and one White Castle is nothing to eat, so you can experiment.
We had and I might have shared this before, but you know what? I think it's worth sharing since we're talking about White Castle for some reason. I had a truck driver come in once, and it was morning shift. And he comes in, and you could add stuff to your White Castles. I don't know if you know that or not. There's like an add. There's an add button for everything that White Castle has. You could add it to a White Castle. Yeah, you can. Yeah.
Might be White Castle later today. I want a White Castle with a White Castle on it, cheese sticks, French fries, onion chips.
So this dude comes in, and he orders 10 double cheeseburgers. Okay.
All right.
He's like, I want extra onions, extra pickles. I want to add your egg. I want to put egg on it.
Ooh.
And I want to put your sausage on it too.
What? I'm fine with the egg. Like, I'm actually genuinely. Did you ever try a White Castle with egg? Because I've never done that.
It's all right. Yeah.
I mean, I really like egg on a hamburger.
Yeah.
So maybe I'll ask for that next time I'll try to get an egg on one of them.
No, I don't know how it was. Maybe they do breakfast all day now, but if you do that, you got to do it in the morning.
Right. Yeah, that's fair enough. But yeah, so this guy's got a double with sausage, extra onion, extra pickle.
Yes.
Well, let's just see. The sausage is going to overpower the White Castle patty. I almost called it a meat patty, but
well, you had to like basically smush the hamburger bun because the original package carton was a
well, the carton's not that big.
Oh yeah.
I mean, you could have just started using like the French fry cartons.
I think he used. I think he was like $30 he spent on like 10 double cheeseburgers. I was like, ugh. I don't want to be in that guy's truck as he's driving.
That is because I'll get like if I get White Castle, I'll just buy like a 10-sack or something. Now I usually get cheese with no pickle, and then I would prefer to get light onion. But from what you've told me in the past, like it seems like doing any kind of like variation to the onion just makes things a mess. So
it does, but
I just go with the onions.
With no onion.
Yeah, I would either do no onion or just regular. Like I'm not going to ask for light onion because I don't want some weird thing. But we got to prepare a whole new grill now even for light onion, we got to do it different or something like that. That just makes them poison me.
If they're fresh off the grill, it's easy to get the onion off.
Okay.
But yeah, if they're old, it's a little bit harder.
Okay. Well, yeah, because I know from food allergies, you got to be careful with that stuff with food services. But
then there's some people that actually will come in and say that they need a special grill because they have allergies or whatever, and when they eat the food, because it's not cooked on
the onion
with onions, it has no onion whatsoever. They don't like it as much.
Well, yeah, because you're missing the flavor. Well, there's a
Yeah.
ton of food. Like when I make chili or any of that stuff, I don't really like a lot of onions, but I'll add like an onion soup mix to it to get that onion flavor. Because I like the flavor, but sometimes it's the texture of the onions. Like
Yes.
here in the Ohio, Cincinnati area, you got the air quotes chili, like Skyline and Gold Star, and which is fine. Like it's excellent on hot dogs. But if you get onions, it's always the crunchy onions, and I hate that. Like
Sure.
I need caramelized onions or steamed onions or
Oh,
dehydrated onions.
You're grossing me out.
What?
Caramelized onions are terrible. I cannot.
I mean, now if I'm doing that, I'm not using very many of them. Like I usually a little onion goes a long way for myself. Now I know some people are like, I love onions, and they'll eat them like an apple, and I think that's disgusting. But to each their own.
Now I'll eat green onions like that, but I won't eat white
Red.
onions like that.
Red or white onion.
Red or white doesn't matter. I don't.
Yeah, I'm not. No, I don't like green onions. Are overpowering to me. My wife loves them.
Really?
And I just can't.
Oh yeah, they're
handle
awesome.
It.
I suck those down like Coca-Cola. There,
I actually mix them. I was trying to find green onion Coca-Cola, but I had to go to Japan.
Yes.
That sounds like a Japan, maybe Korea.
Yeah, sure.
Well, that's been some exciting White Castle food talk for the top part of the show here.
The only thing we've done is made me really hungry for White Castle.
Yeah, that's maybe we can get a sponsorship. We'll tag them.
Yes.
Join us as we discuss the finer points of White Castle. Their cheese sticks. Side thing is their cheese sticks and onion chips. Even though I don't like onions, are so good.
Yeah.
And then the fries are whatever. But remember when they had the cheese rings and you could get like the seasoning with them?
Yeah.
Like you get like a buffalo seasoning and like a ranch cup to dip it in. Those were so good. Man, I want White Castle.
So.
All right, that's the show for today. We're going to go get.
So, I think we should start this week with TV and movie news.
All right.
Or whatever, because I don't have a lot, but I do want to talk about something. So.
Yeah, let me hit our bumper. One sec.
Something that could never, ever possibly destroy us. Mr. Stay Puft.
You chose poorly. You have chosen wisely.
I think I'm going to make a new TV bumper, because even though Ghostbusters and Indiana Jones are two of the best films on Earth, I just feel like it's just not as good as the wrestling bumper makes me laugh when I hear it sometimes from some of the stuff in it. So we might get a new one of those coming up before long. But so what? Because we both watched a few more episodes of Harley Quinn, the animated series.
Yeah. So before we do that, though, can I tell you? I watched, I think, pretty much all of season 2 of Arrow.
Yes.
Oh man.
When Slade was the bad guy.
Slade is that guy who plays Slade. Oh my god. Such a great job.
Season 2 Arrow. Let me find, because wasn't he from Spartacus or something?
Yes, he was from Spartacus. Great, another great show.
Let me see here. Deathstroke. I'm going to the IMDb page for him.
Probably the safest.
yeah. I don't want to go to any of the bizarre fan fiction ones because I can't remember the guy's actual name. We might be hearing my Manu Bennett. But yeah, that guy, he killed that character, like, in a good way. Not like he ruined the character. Like, he nailed whatever they were going for with the character. I assume that he was like, oh, that's exactly what we wanted, or that's better than what we wanted. Like, it came across just so good.
Well, even the guy who was in Doctor Who, the Dark Archer. I mean, season 1, Dark Archer, he was awesome.
Merlin,
and then
or Malcolm Merlin.
Later he became stupid. But
right,
season 1 of Malcolm, he was So the first 2 seasons of Arrow, you guys did a great job, and then you built the series.
They should have ended it after season 2. In hindsight,
yes.
And again, like they were clearly setting up Suicide Squad, and that got taken from them, so we'll never know what could have been.
From everything I've read and like some of the actors spoke, I guess WB or Warner Brothers, with the whole Avengers really catching fire, I think they were like, "Oh, we're missing the boat here. We need to start making movies." But I think they totally missed the whole reason why Avengers was popular, because
they
Avengers
built
took time to built their characters up.
Right. So we'll never know, because I mean they were season 1, season 2 of Arrow was more than I would have ever thought it would be. Like as far as like, is this going to be good? Oh wow, I'm enjoying this. Like it was right up my alley as far as a character. And you took somebody that I had pretty little interest in the Green Arrow, and made like, okay, this is good. I don't know about him killing everybody straight away, but we'll see where it goes. That's still probably a mistake in hindsight. I think they were trying for the edgy factor, maybe.
I guess it makes sense if the rumors of them only going to do 5 seasons. Then I guess
like, hey, get this guy in the show, so we acknowledge his existence, but we'll just write him off straight away.
Yeah, so I guess that it makes sense as far as that goes. But I think they got greedy, and they're like, "Oh, people like this, so let's
keep on going." Many shows, Lost, for example, because they had some cool takes like Clock King, but they immediately kind of offed him too. So what can you do?
But anyway, I just wanted to acknowledge.
Remember when we were hoping they'd get Riddler? Yeah. And how cool Riddler could be if you did certain things with him. We'll probably never see that. But yeah. Now, season 1, season 2 were fantastic for Arrow. Slade, and Slade, like in my mind, because that was a lot like the original Teen Titans Slade, like the original cartoon. Like it was, there were a lot of similarities there. As far as what, like he was competent, he was a smart guy. So that was pretty good, for sure.
So anyway,
I don't know if I'll ever rewatch that though. Like I'm not big into rewatching stuff most of the time. I'll just let it live.
The first encounter of when Oliver meets Slade again, because Oliver thinks Slade is dead,
right?
In the mansion, and Roy and the Black Canary and Oliver all standing there, and Slade is thinking, he's like, do I want this to go down now, or do I want to wait? And it's great scene. Great.
Yeah, I mean they did everything. Obviously there were flaws with it, but season 1, season 2 were so good, and then season 3 it was like, well, I'll watch season 4 and see what's going on here, but I don't know. And then it was like, all right, I'll maybe watch an episode here or there. Because it seems like there was some really good stuff after that. Like, you'd get, like, a few good episodes, and then you'd just be like, what are you guys doing? So.
Sure.
So to transition, though, now, have you watched anything else other than the Harley Quinn that's notable?
I mean, I watched Gone in 60 Seconds.
I like that movie. I have a little from Loot Box or Loot Crate. That is, there's one of the ones they sent out where I have like a miniature of Eleanor, because like I really like that your Mustang to begin with. So I like basically the look of the fastback is probably my favorite style Mustang. That's why I like the current one so much. I think. I would never put nitro on a car that I had, but that's not my thing.
I never noticed this before in the movie, that at the beginning, because he has such a bad history with Eleanor.
Yeah.
right when before he steals Eleanor, he says, you treat me right, I'll treat you right, and everything goes good with the stealing of Eleanor until he accidentally runs into a trash can and rips her
The mirror off.
her mirror off. And that's when he starts ripping the mirror off. That's when she's like, okay, well, see, you didn't treat me right, and then
it just goes to crap.
Yep.
Yeah, that movie. I don't know that that's a good movie, but I'll occasionally watch it.
I will say it's a good car movie far as me, because I don't like cars that much, and it can get my interest.
Right, where I'm sure we have a friend who's a car guy. I'm sure he would watch that and just be infuriated at some of the things that happen. Like, that's not how that works.
Sure.
But I don't know. I mean, they could be completely authentic and accurate with everything, but I have no idea. Because that's not my thing.
I do believe our friend that we're speaking of right now, I think he said this about the Fast and the Furious franchise. He's like, if you watch those movies, not as a car movie, because he's like, it's not a car movie because everything in it is fictional. He's like, and you just watch it as an action film, it's not that bad. I was like, sure.
I don't see him being able to separate that. I see a lot of throwing his hands up in the air and just shaking his head.
Well, the latest Fast and the Furious, I loved it when The Rock grabs the. It might have been Hobbs and Shaw. It doesn't matter. There was a scene where a helicopter was trying to lift off.
Yeah,
this
where
vehicle.
Rock is doing the Captain America with it, basically.
Yes. So apparently there's superheroes in the Fast and the Furious universe.
What if you saw a video of The Rock actually doing that for real, though? And it turned out that he really is that strong.
I mean, maybe I don't know. I don't know helicopters, but maybe a small, very small helicopter. I'm not seeing him
Gyrocopter?
doing that with a... Sure.
Like a little... All right. So the only thing I've watched was really Harley Quinn and wrestling. So
there you go.
So we had previously went through the first three, where I think overall so far we've enjoyed it. The pilot was a little bit more intense than the other episodes.
Yeah, they're finding themselves, I would say.
Yeah, and then it was like, okay, we're gonna dial it back just a notch or two on some of this stuff. Like, there's still profanity, but they didn't use the F word as filler for everything. So with episode 4, it's titled Finding Mr. Right, and it's basically Harley is in search of a nemesis, and they treat it almost like a dating episode. Because they're signing up for the equivalent to like one of the matchmaking sites for a nemesis, and they can't get anybody. Because the whole thing starts like they do this big bank heist, but everybody's news-wise is paying attention to Joker and Batman.
Yes.
And then Poison Ivy, being the voice of reason, is pointing out that, it's technically better you just committed a felony. If people aren't talking about it, you basically got away with it. But Harley's desire for the Legion of Doom is, she's crazy, basically. Like, they're not afraid of that at all. So, what do you think overall?
I mean, I thought it was a good episode. It was funny. The thing I thought, now I had to get my mind right. So when I started watching it, and Harley steals the Batmobile, I started thinking, well, she would not be able to steal the Batmobile. That would not have happened. So I had to get out of DC
the normal
reality. Yeah.
Right. Well, yeah, because all the characters, like, this is like that fine line where, like, Batman is mostly normal so far. I mean, he's still not quite normal, but everyone else is real close to, like, Teen Titans Go version of weirdos. Like, the exaggeration to the character.
And I think what they're doing is they're showing it in the perspective of Harley Quinn or like a bad guy.
Right.
So in their mind, the heroes are kind of the lunatics,
Yeah.
And, so.
Well, I mean, Batman has relations with bats.
yes. So.
Which is funny because Batman always has so far responds that he doesn't actually do that, which he would never even acknowledge that, I don't think.
Yes.
But they so we get some King Shark in this one, which
So what'd you think about King Shark here?
At first, I was disappointed that King Shark said more than King Shark is a shark due to watching the Justice League Dark Apocalypse Wars, because I was like, they did it just enough in that one that it made me really like it. And then the end part where King Shark could talk, and they're like, "Are you kidding me?" I really like that whole thing. But the way they're doing King Shark, I think, is hilarious. Where it's like King Shark is smart, but at the same time, there's still those shark elements. Like there's a joke where towards the end they have like throughout this, like basically the Wendy Williams show or whatever, the Tammy show, is that what it is?
Yeah, Tammy show.
Yeah, apparently everyone watches. Like that's the gossip news source for villains, heroes, cops, everybody.
Yes.
She reports that Harley and Robin are nemesis at this point.
Yes.
And people are like, he's like a kid. That's creepy. And Harley's not so there's all kinds of weirdness with that. But it gets to the point where Harley's trying to get whoever, but King Shark is apparently a tech wizard and has helped Clayface previously increase his follower count from 8 to 18. So and then I can't even remember the guy that they finally got a match on the nemesisfinder.com or whatever.
Oh, wasn't it like smooth Johnny or something like that?
I can't remember, but he had like a special ray gun, and they're like, I am not settling for this guy.
Yes.
So they set out to make Batman become the nemesis, it sounds like, to where they end up kidnapping Robin and hanging him above a shark tank, and they convince King Shark to swim around. They're like, we're just going to scare him. He's like, there's not going to be blood, is there? Because I don't do very good around blood. And it's like, oh, well, that's going to be funny because King Shark's not going to be violent. Well, no. It's because, like a real shark, blood causes a feeding frenzy. And even Dr. Psycho and Clayface, like, basically Robin, like they alluded to earlier in the episode, that certain situations causes a nosebleed for him. So he gets the nosebleed, it drips into the water. King Shark is now, instead of just, like, trying to scare Robin and make everything look good, he's trying to kill him and eat him, which is not what they're wanting. They're just wanting Batman to show up and also to have Robin, because they've ambushed him onto the Tammy show to get him to acknowledge that he's not really art. I think of Venture Brothers from Adult Swim, where that's not really they're not arches, basically, like as opposed to Nemesis. Like they had a whole thing about that. Like, oh, who are you arching now? As in, who's your arch nemesis kind of thing. But yeah, so this freaks Robin out. He admits it, and then all of a sudden it's all over the news. Like, just like that, instant. So Harley, all the negative connotations of her having a nemesis that's a child has gone away.
So, now how do you feel about... Now, I understand that it's supposed to be goofy. I get it. But, like, Damian. Because Damian is a really cool Robin. The way they have designed Robin, the Damian Robin, is really cool. How do you feel? Yeah, because... Basically, he's just a whiny little brat.
Right, because, like, Damian's, like, one of your favorite characters, right? Like, his normal portrayal as Robin. Let me tell you a story, Solomon. There's a character named Bane. Now, imagine... that this episode, they portray the Damian that you like. This one episode. Every other time you ever see this Robin is this portrayal that you don't like.
Oh, sure.
How would that make you feel? Pretty terrible, right? They're like, oh, there's such an awesome character here, but he's always made to be a loser or goofy or dumb. That's what it's like being a fan of Bane.
Well, now, Now,
So I have no
go a little
sympathy
bit-
for your one-time one-off so far. I hope that Damien becomes a regular and he gets worse.
Now, to be fair to what you just said there, now later on in this episode, they introduced Superman. And Superman
Yes.
is very arrogant.
Oh,
and
Superman's
very,
perfect.
But I like that. Now I don't. Now the Superman I like is not like that. But I like a different portrayal of Superman as
Right.
being cocky and kind of arrogant.
Well-
I think that's neat.
Yeah. Well, I think it's I'm trying to think. Yeah, because I forgot all about that part. Yeah, they like tie up Lois, because she had ran a story about it, the whole Nemesis thing, and they were trying to get her to retract it or something.
Well,
And-
and Poison Ivy's like, you do not want to get Superman
Yeah.
mad at you.
And but like Lois isn't even remotely worried, which is funny. And then Superman shows up, and like you said, he's not super cocky. Like this is a step back from how I view Superman, but it's like
Okay.
it's a really nice middle ground where he's just like, oh no, I don't have time for you guys, but whatever. And then like Damien crashes through the wall on like a Razor scooter or something.
Yes.
And like they continue that. And he just like he doesn't even like help Robin. He just leaves and is like, go get him, Slugger, or something like that.
Well, and doesn't he rescue Lois Lane, which I guess Lois Lane is okay with? She's like, okay, I'll see you tonight, or whatever.
Yeah.
And-
Oh yeah, I didn't even think about it. Yeah, he didn't even rescue her. He just left her
Yeah.
tied up in the chair. I was like, let's get
Yes.
sushi. I didn't even realize that until you said it. Like something was strange to me with that, but
Yeah.
but yeah, because like Robin gets the nosebleed. That's where they set that up, and then so going back to it, so Batman shows up to rescue Robin because now King Shark's trying to kill him, and then Dr. Psycho's like, oh man, I think it was Dr. Psycho. It could have been Clayface. I was like, I thought when he said he wasn't good around blood, he got queasy. I didn't expect
Yes.
this.
Yeah.
Which was pretty good. But yeah, so Batman, and basically the Tammy show is running that Harley and Batman are nemesis now.
Yes,
until-
which makes Joker jealous.
So Joker's like robbing a bank, and he doesn't even seem to care that he's robbing the bank. He's only doing it to fight Superman.
Or Batman.
Or yeah, Batman. And
Yeah, he's only doing it to get the affections of Batman, basically.
yeah, like that's all it is. So he goes into a lover's jealous rage
Yeah.
and comes to basically try to steal it away. Then they're talking about a love triangle between them on the Tammy show.
Yes.
Poison Ivy eventually, like, because Batman is outclassing pretty much everybody when he's just fighting
Yeah.
him. So Poison Ivy shows up to, as she said, clean up Harley's mess, pretty much.
Yes.
So yeah, so I don't know. The end result of this episode was just all over the place, but
Sure.
I really I enjoyed it for sure.
Yeah, it was a good episode. It was funny. It was. It just.
Oh, there was
It goes.
I forgot about this where Batman uses the shark repellent, like
Yes.
a nod to the old movie. I forgot about that, and then let me see. Oh yeah, there was this part that was a little bit creepy, but it is completely in line with the show, where Harley was like, "Robin's lying." I'm reading from the trivia or did you know part of the episode. Why would I fight a kid? I want a nemesis with some hair on their chest. Poison Ivy was like, well, that rules Batman out. Catwoman says
Yes.
he waxes everything. It's like, well, that's more, again, it's in line with the show, and it does make sense because hair, you would think he would be bald because hair would be a weakness.
Sure.
Like, I don't want someone to use my hair against me. They'll gather my DNA to find out who I am.
Yes.
So, all right.
So I mean, overall, it was good. The thing I found out was Batman and Joker secretly, I guess, love each other. That they love fighting each other.
Well, yeah, because it ends with Batman. He made Robin toast or a bat sandwich or something, and he was like, "You didn't make that. Alfred did, but I made him make it."
Yeah, the Batman goes, I made it. Yeah. So
And
the
then-
only thing I found out was Batman is a bad father.
I mean, I think we knew that, but
Yes.
this just show. But yeah, then he gives Robin the I assume the nemesis talk, something that all
Yes.
superhero parents with children have to go through,
Yes.
and that's an interesting conversation. Batman's like, I didn't have a nemesis until my 20s.
Yes.
So that was weird, but yeah, the Batman interacting with other people because he doesn't know how to be a human, I'm fine with
Yes.
that. Like, that's perfect.
Oh, sure.
So
So the next episode being Harley Quinn.
yeah, I didn't know what to expect out of this. Like, from the title, I was like, oh, I wonder what this is going to be.
Like you said, if it was better animation,
Mm-hmm.
it'd probably been kind of spooky.
Yes. Well, yeah, because it starts out, they're just trying to find a lair. Because they are going to get evicted from Poison Ivy's place. Because he believes that King Shark is a pet.
Yes.
Wait, which King Shark does take some exception to, for sure. And then, so they end up basically trying to find like a lair. And the first one, it threw me off for a second. I had to rewind it because they're dropping a dude into lava, and then the, I guess the evil villain real estate agent is like, this is just a staged kill, but you know, if you really had people, you could really just drop them into lava. That'd be fine. And she's like, I don't know if the skull really fits with her brand. 'Cause it definitely looks like a Skeletor He-Man kind of thing. Maybe like a Flashpoint Maxi Zeus kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then they went to one where they're like, well, there's nothing here. It's like, well, this is caves dug by mole people.
Yes.
Like, they go through and they just can't find anything, and the real estate agent is totally done with it. And they're trying to figure out, like, basically they need to know more about Harley to figure out who she is.
Yes.
And-
because she has, well, yeah, and then I guess during the interview, she just has a nervous breakdown or something like that.
Yeah, like, it's basically she goes into her own head and just freezes in place. Which apparently, as Dr. Psycho is there, like, this is a completely normal thing that happens all the time.
Sure.
So, they eventually, like, the real estate lady just leaves, and then, like, I think Ivy suggests, like, Dr. Psycho go and fix it. So he's getting ready to enter her brain. She's like, oh no, you're not going in there by yourself.
Yes.
And, now, bear this in mind, like, so Ivy's idea is they all of Harley's squad goes in there.
Yes.
Now, they're all dressed in... I forgot about this part. They all have Suicide Squad shirts on because some group's been trying to recruit Harley is basically how they're doing it. She's
Yes.
like, why would I... You know, like, they're just making a little joke out of that.
Yeah.
So they're all wearing these shirts, though, which is pretty funny.
Yes.
So Dr. Psycho takes them all inside Harley's mind, and they're in, like, a museum, and Harley's there. And the issue is her origin. In her mind, Joker pushed her into the vat. But she's like, well, this memory, it looks like I just jump in there. That can't be right. So they're trying to figure out what's going on. Dr. Psycho has been very specific as to not touch anything, which is immediately broken. And then you see, like, there's a couple disturbing memories that are shown that shows that Harley has not been all there all the time. The graduation one was pretty funny, where she, like, graduates valedictorian, flips everybody off, calls out one of the teachers for constantly staring at her in a rather lewd way.
Well, I liked how Dr. Psycho said, he's like, I had a similar speech, too, at my wife's wedding or his brother-in-law's wedding or something like that.
It was also good because, like, once they, like, screw it up and the brain starts sending the child demon Harleys, he's like, oh yeah, that's great. You guys won't let me come in here by myself because you're afraid of me, like, mentally molesting or, like, something like just super over the top is what he said. He's like, and who's the one who did it? You guys. Real great.
Yes. Yes.
So, but yeah, it's basically like Kid Harley still has the pigtails, but ends up having yellow eyes and is just like the creepy little kid in the, like the dress kind of thing. It made me think Silent Hill. And like you were saying, like if the animation was like a more realistic animation, I would have probably got up, turned the lights on, and finished watching it with light on. Because, again, the dark is very scary.
Yes.
So you end up with, basically they're going like through her subconscious and all this other stuff. There's a joke that goes with the Suicide Squad shirts where the landlord comes in and is like, oh, it happened again. Because he sees them all just totally frozen in place wearing Suicide Squad shirts. So he is convinced that they've killed themselves. No checking for breathing, pulse, anything else.
Yes.
And he calls up an old spy friend, basically, it seems like. And they're trying to figure out what to do. And they've decided to take the bodies to go burn them.
Yes.
There's a joke made about this needs some Jewish lightning. I don't know if that's an appropriate
I really
joke.
wasn't understanding that. Yeah.
Like I'm not sure. I have no idea. I can come up with multiple ways to take that, but I really don't know.
I didn't care enough to look it up.
It seems like one of those things that is probably not meant offensively, but could definitely.
I assume not.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, because it seems like they're just like being crude. They're not being anything like that. So, and I don't remember hearing like an outrage over that. So,
sure. Yeah.
So we do get a real good point in this episode that was hilarious to me. Is Frankie Muniz from Malcolm in the Middle shows up.
He becomes their helper. Yes.
Yes. Well, there's the initial memory where, or it goes back to the memory where she's reading the restraining order that was placed on him.
Yes.
But then he also, like, to calm Harley at one point, is like, she's like, I always knew you were staring back at me when I stared at your picture, and they basically allude to horrible things going on there. As she stared as an 11-year-old Harley and Frankie Muniz.
Yes.
I don't know. So you get, like, there's a few other. There's not a lot that really stuck out to me until they're getting to the her subconscious on Arkham Island, basically.
Yeah.
And then, like, it shows the old landlord guy throwing their bodies down an escalator.
Yes.
And they end up firing up a pizza oven to cremate them.
Because they're in a abandoned mall.
Yeah. Well, and the reason they know, one of the things before they got to the subconscious floor of Harley's brain, they went to where they could see like what she would see outside her eyes, so they could see the conversation that they think they're dead. So they know that they got to hurry, but they also got to fix Harley. So they go over to Arkham Island. Really, the end result, like they look through a few different memories there again. But it gets to the one with her and Joker where she, one way or the other, falls into the vat. And it turns out Harley chose to jump. She made the choice. She was in control all along. So that seems to fix her. And Ivy being the voice of reason is, it was easier to blame him than take responsibility or something like that. And then... She kind of rewrites her own origin in her mind, where when she was done with the Joker and blew up his place and beat him up, that's when she really became Harley Quinn. So that kind of fixes her.
Yes.
So they come out. Clayface is the only one who gets thrown in the oven, but because he's Clay, he's okay because he gets out in time. They basically decide that the mall is going to be their lair. And the landlord joins the crew because he misses apparently being involved in heists.
Yeah, apparently he misses the good old days, as he says. So.
Well, and the funny thing is, they're like, "Whoa, we don't want to be war we don't. I don't know if we want to be associated with a war criminal." And he's like, "It's a real fine line. One day you're doing stuff for your country, and the next you're a war criminal." It's like. I'm summarizing the exact lines there. I don't know if they have that. Yeah, I don't see anything for quotes because I can't remember the exact, but it was something to that effect, and it was like, huh. Oh yeah, did you catch that? I noticed that as it was going, but I didn't really think too much of it. All the pictures of Harley family was a lot like Married with Children, like the Bundys.
Yes. Yeah, I did. Yeah.
So,
So overall, this episode, I mean, I don't. It's not as good as the last one, but it was alright.
right. Well, they were trying to, I guess, get like a proper. I don't know exactly the intent of it because I haven't got too much further than these, but maybe getting her a proper lair instead of Ivy's place or something.
Sure.
You know, it is weird from like a anime or pro wrestling standpoint. Like Poison Ivy is like the superpower of the group that only shows up occasionally when things really need her. Like from a power standpoint.
True. Yeah.
So that's interesting. They have teased in one of these 2 episodes, I think it was in the Nemesis one, the relationship between Harley and Poison Ivy, which I'm assuming they'll eventually do something more. Because, I mean, going back to the Batman animated series when Harley was introduced, that was a much more conservative time with characters, but they always alluded to there being something between them. So,
yeah, like Ivy was like bisexual or something like that.
Yeah, well, I think because she's a plant, it's different. But I don't know.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
But either way, there was more of a relationship with them that was always hinted at. So it'll be interesting how they do that. But like overall, I like the Ivy being the straight man character, so to say.
Yeah, I mean,
she's like
so far, I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, well, and everybody's been like the characters are advancing, like they're actually giving, people are getting a little more in depth, a little more character to them. Just all right, like there's some character development, which is something that normal DC stuff doesn't do very well.
Something their TV and movies have a problem with doing.
Yes. Short of, hey, I'm a character that is this. That's all you need to know. You're like, seems like there should be a little more depth.
Do you think there's someone in DC and they have board meetings or something and they just call everyone together like, why is it that we can tell better stories through
animation?
Our animated movie? Yes, but in our actual movies or TV series, we fail terribly.
There has got to be...
Or do you think they're just oblivious? They don't even know why people like the stuff.
The only thing that I can come up with, I got two answers off the top of my head. One is going to be that there is some kind of marketing or higher level focus group involved.
Yeah.
Like, because they treat it like they treat a movie as not a comic book thing or something. Like, there's got to be some weird disconnect in like the hands-on, hands-off approach to it. Mm-hmm. The other thing could be that they're like, oh, the only people who are going to watch these animated things are people who are into the comic books. So we're going to treat, like, from a story standpoint or a formula standpoint, they're doing something different with them. Like, that's the only thing that really makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Like, there's some group or some level of management or something, I would think, that's involved with the movies that just don't understand... like, they're trying to do, like, an action movie and then just take characters from DC and put it into it, and they don't understand what makes the character the character.
Yeah.
Like,
that's probably it.
Like, it's got to be where, like, we need an action movie with Superman, not we need a Superman action movie.
Yes.
Like, it kind of feels a little bit like that. Because they've got some of the characters right. Like, they do stuff right from time to time, and other times it's like, well, this doesn't feel like the Superman from Justice League. That doesn't feel like Superman to me at all.
No.
Like, the Superman in Harley that's a little bit cocky, that feels more like a true Superman to me, because he's lighthearted.
I mean, sure. Yeah.
Like, he's not angst-filled.
Even the Superman in Harley, they're making fun of the traditional Superman. He is more Superman than Superman in the movies. Yes.
So why is it that they keep killing Superman's dad?
I don't know.
Why?
It's the
Because
whole
in the
It's
comics,
the whole Uncle Ben thing.
right? But in the comics, Superman had Ma and Pa Kent until the whole Doomsday thing, and then even when he died of the heart attack, I can't remember if he came back or if like Clark met him in the afterlife, and they had like a pretty good ending, I thought.
Yeah.
But for an awful long time, Superman had his Ma and his Pa.
Sure.
And now, like, it's like, well, we need to kill one of his parents. We'll just kill Jonathan. Constantly,
Yes.
like, why? Let him be like a well-adjusted human.
Well, if you think about it, DC characters kind of have the whole orphan thing going for them, so maybe that's what they want to keep going for. I don't know.
Let Superman be the example. Like, hey, look, Superman had like a stable family that actually gave a crap and were good people.
Sure.
He's not a lunatic. Like,
Yeah.
is that so bad?
Yes.
Clearly, I mean, for them.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't get it. I don't understand why DC does some of the things that they do. So I don't
It's
know.
so tiresome in a way. It's
Sure.
like I'm not a fan of Superman, but we get these versions of him where it's like, nope, that ain't him.
Well, it's
Like,
really
as someone
hard
who
for
doesn't
me.
like him, I'm still like, well, that's not right. That's not a good version of him.
Well, it's really frustrating for me when I take my wife or someone that is not really into comic books, but they want to watch a movie with me.
Yeah.
And I take them to these to these terrible DC films, and they're like, "Yeah, that's why I don't like superhero movies because that sucked." I was like, "Well, yes."
But like, well, they don't release the animated ones in the theaters
Yes.
for
So,
like, yeah, like I don't understand. Just have the cartoon people write a script and then act it out and don't change it. That's the key thing. Don't change. Well, yeah, we know you have this like really good thing here, but how about instead Superman kills this guy by throwing him into the sun? Well, no,
Yeah.
he doesn't do that except to the guy that looked like Lex Luger
well,
in the one movie, and that was an accident.
even like stories that I have no interest in whatsoever are done really well. Like the whole Justice League Dark. I don't know anything about those characters, but they
Right.
tell the story so well. So I don't know. Their storytelling is so much better in the anime.
Well,
I don't get
Something about it. Maybe it's the voice actors and something they do with the animation, but they
it.
give
So you
them
think
those.
it's the better actors?
Maybe the voice actors get into the like. Maybe there's something about the way they get into the character,
Yeah.
or they're not over direct. They're like, "Hey, you want to be Flash? Okay, we know you were Lex Luthor for a while, but let's see you be Flash."
Sure.
Because doesn't Rosenbaum do the Flash voice on some of them?
He used to. I don't know if
I know he did
still
for
does.
some.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, in general, like there's something about the voice actor or the script, like it hits those little elements of the character where you're like, oh, they did that because it's a funny joke. Like
Yeah.
Batman and Superman interacting, like the one where Superman was like, well, I could push the Earth out of the way. And he's like, if I had a week, I couldn't tell you all the different ways that that's a bad idea. And it's
Sure.
like it's kind of just like a throwaway line, but it perfectly showcases like the relationship between Batman and Superman and just that one interaction. And they give it a few seconds to breathe, and for some reason in the movies, like they'll try things like that, but it just like they're too busy trying to be super serious about everything
Sure.
or something.
Well, I mean, now Wonder Woman was a good movie.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Whoever was
I mean,
involved with that,
just make
everybody.
that person.
Because there was either someone involved with that made it good, or there was someone who wasn't involved with that didn't make it bad. Like there's got to be. I am never going to take the time to do it, but there's got to be someone at some level that had a say in that movie that is not involved with the other movies in one way or another. I refuse to believe that had the same lineup of everybody.
Yeah.
Now,
I
have you
don't
gotten
know.
around
Now-
to watching the Snyder cut of Justice League?
Has that been released yet?
I have no idea. I thought it was. No. I think my wife has HBO Max. So if it is, I'm going to watch it at some point. I can't believe I'm going to do that on purpose. Because I don't know how you make that movie good. Like,
yeah,
I don't know. But, all right. You want to move on to wrestling?
Let's say, I think we're done bashing DC now.
Love the animated. Just the live action stuff is mostly bad.
Yes.
Or it's good, and then all of a sudden season 3 happens, and it's like, what am I watching?
Looking at you, Arrow.
All right, are you ready?
Future series. Yes.
Oh, well, I don't know what the hell's going on here, folks. Looks like he's just wearing blue pants.
This is a revolution.
All right. So I'm reminded from recent news, it looks like NWA has gone on hiatus until 2021, where people are able to take independent bookings. So I don't know if maybe you'll end up if they'll revise that. I'm assuming that means places that don't have TV deals. So maybe something will happen though, where we actually get to see some people in AEW or Ring of Honor or something, or Impact even.
I would assume that what's his face, the world champion,
Nick
will
Aldis
probably go to. Yeah, probably at least have a TNT. I expect him doing a TNT.
Well, if he's still the champion,
match.
it would be nice to see him show up on Impact, Ring of Honor, and AEW and defend the title.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think that's going to hurt anything, and it'd be helping out NWA, who just not having a good time with pandemic, and I guess we'll mention it. I don't want to talk about it a ton. There are an awful lot of terrible allegations against an awful lot of people right now. Like, if you're keeping score, it's getting crazy. There's been a lot of accusations. Some of the accusations, there are a few that seem a little bit iffy, or there's there's some malice behind it that's not necessarily, they're taking advantage of a situation possibly for attention, but those people suck too if they actually are doing that, because they're taking away attention from the real problem. So, kind of want to acknowledge it, but I don't want to get into it, because a lot of this stuff, there's still it
just happened. So
and there's there's going to be, it sounds like internationally there's police investigations. I'm sure for U.S. stuff that'll happen. So until people are found one way or the other, I don't want to pile on to someone that might be potentially innocent, and they're getting their name bombarded. At the same time, I don't want to speculate that maybe someone's innocent and they're a horrible person. So, just kind of allude to it. Now, you pointed out something. We'll talk about AEW Dark for just a second. Where I'll have to try to go back. But you had some opinions on the enhancement talent, we'll call them, that showed up against Jurassic Express.
I believe I called them the jobbers of the jobbers.
I was trying to find exactly what you sent, but there's been a lot of stuff. Because I was asking you about Fake Jungle Boy, if you had seen him from the Being the Elite or the Sammy vlog. But because Being the Elite, not so good this time.
It hasn't been good for a long time, in my opinion.
Yeah, there was a couple things that were kind of funny. But
they have a weird sense of humor. I don't think because I'm thinking if I hung up with those guys, they would tell a joke or whatever, and then they would keep telling the joke over and over again because they thought it was really funny, and the rest of the crowd would be like, okay, well, it's not funny anymore.
Well, or because they knew everyone thought it wasn't funny, they would just keep doing it. So which
it gets to the point where then this is annoying.
Right. Well, again, weird world, but so they had these two guys, John Cruz and Capital Vices, Sin and Money, who are basically, I would assume, very big fans of Freddy Krueger. Because even I think Taz at one point was like, I usually don't like guys with gimmicks all over their gimmicks on top of gimmicks or something like that. Because they had they came out with it looked like shoulder pads, but it had the Freddy Krueger, the reddish greenish stripes around those. They had the hat. They had Freddy Krueger's face on their gear. They had just the hat on their gear. Like, it was a mess. Like, looking at it, I was like, that can't be legal, can it? Like, that's got to be some kind of trademark or copyright violation, something?
Between that group and then Marco Stunt during that match, I turned it off. I'm like, I can't do this. I'm like, what is this? Because Marco Stunt, I was okay with him at first, but now he seems like he's going out of his way to be annoying.
Right.
It's annoying me.
I like his moveset is getting better. Like, he's getting like, he's finding a style that I feel like works better for him, because he's so small. Like, he's going to have to do different things. Like, the one way he did, like, the crazy, in my mind, it was like Guile from Street Fighter, like the Sonic kick or the Flash kick or whatever. He did like a knee lift version of something like that I thought was pretty cool. But yeah, like, it was just one of those things, like you mentioned, I was like, oh yeah, those guys, what was going on with all that? Like, it was a mess.
I don't know if they snuck in and like they
actually beat up somebody.
Cody and the Young Bucks weren't paying attention during that match. I don't know.
Right.
I don't know what was going on, but
I mean, they could have just been like, hey, you guys do whatever your normal thing is, try it out. It's just going to be on YouTube. We're probably not going to get sued by Freddy Krueger or Rob England's estate or whatever.
Sure.
Trying to think. We got the only other, there were actually a couple things notable on this. We got Sean Spears, like his first match, I think, since getting the black glove from Tully. So he was like a way more serious, down to business Sean Spears. So that's good. Like, it seems like there's going to be some continuation to that story. And then Evil Uno and Stu Grayson just beat up some dudes. And that was really...
I read that, I guess backstage, a lot of people's been getting yelled at.
Mm-hmm.
And because they're doing dives and they're not catching people right. Or something like that. And I guess people are getting hurt. And I guess they got yelled at.
Well, some of the people who are doing the dives, like, it looks real good because it looks how it really would, but it doesn't look like a wrestling dive almost. But then at the same time, it brings that, why are you doing some of these dives? It's like, why are you doing these?
Yes.
Like, for what we got.
Well, I think it was on Dynamite. Cody jumps out. Even JR's like, "Why would you do that?" He's like, "You're just there was no reason to do that."
Yeah,
I was like, JR said exactly what I was thinking.
Yeah, some of them, like, I don't think Cody yeah, I know what you're talking about. He did the through the ropes one, but let me see here. So I did want to touch real quick because we don't usually talk about Raw or SmackDown at all. But Raw this week actually had some kind of good stuff on it.
Okay.
There's like Orton and Christian have like an interaction that ends up with they're going to have an unsanctioned match at the end of the show. The end result of that is like Ric Flair actually comes out to speak with Christian, low blows him, and then Orton punts Christian, I'm pretty sure, is what happened. But that's got some people wondering if Christian's been cleared to have a match. Because it's typically your contact or no contact. There's not like a sort of contact. So maybe Christian's going to be able to have a match or something. I
believe Scott Hall said it a long time ago. So they're dusting off one of the dinosaurs from the dinosaur exhibit.
Right. Yes. Well, I mean, it goes with the Edge because they're so related, I guess. There's also Bobby Lashley is going to divorce Lana now and separate from her. I will say Lashley's match at Backlash or whatever, like, I was digging it. Like, I actually kind of wanted Lashley to win. It's getting closer to... Did you ever see him in TNA when it was like the Beatdown Clan or whatever?
Yeah.
Like, that version of Bobby Lashley seemed pretty good. He seems to be, like, being paired with MVP seems to be really good for him. Like, I actually, like, because Lashley should be a monster who's he's awesome, but for some reason they just made me have zero interest in the guy. But now it's like it's starting to pick up again for me. So there was this weird, the Viking Raiders and the Street Profits are doing weird stuff with ninjas.
Yeah, Yeah,
I don't know.
I saw a meme about that. They're like, how do you take a group like these guys that are cool and turning them into this?
I love it myself. I was iffy on it at first, but I was like, knowing you, I was like, it's kind of like me as well. It's like, I'm either going to love it or hate it. I figured to be the same with you. I was like, he's probably going to like this way less than me if he likes it at all. But it's so ridiculous that for me, it's like, yeah, that's great. I love it. Like, you're not even pretending to try to make it make sense. You're just having fun. So I'm okay with that.
Yes.
Again, it's one of those weird things that you would think I would probably hate it based on some other opinions I have.
Well, like the '80s wrestling was so ridiculous, but it was enjoyable because it was so off the wall. But what made it so good is the people that were doing it actually believed that it was serious.
Yeah, they treated it real, even though it was insane. Yeah, and that's kind of how this is.
Yeah.
So there was a thing where it was going to be like a winner take all match, I guess, with this, with R-Truth and Drew McIntyre against Bobby Lashley and MVP, and however it had McIntyre was definitely worried because R-Truth is not the most serious person in the world, so he's like super worried about it. And somewhere throughout the show, that Truth walked up and he was like, "Hey," something to the effect of, "I fixed this," because McIntyre was worried. But R-Truth fixed it by making only Drew's title was on the line. R-Truth's 24/7 title wasn't on the line anymore. So that makes Drew even more worried about it. And that plays out throughout the match. Now they end up winning, but it was just something that was kind of funny. There's a little bit of stuff with Dominique, Rey Mysterio's son, but I didn't really watch that. And then the finish is the whole Orton and Christian thing, where nothing really happens other than Orton punts him, I think it was, and
did a headlock.
And then there's some real creepy stuff with Orton talking to Christian, as he's loaded up on a stretcher and stuff. But overall, it was a little bit of interest. SmackDown had your boy Matt Riddle, favorite wrestler of all time, show up. He said "bro" a couple times, and proceeded to beat AJ Styles in his first match. So I'm not on the Riddle train either. I just he's awesome in the ring, but character-wise, bro, dude, barefoot, no.
That character, no.
It's exactly what you don't like.
I don't think it's a character. I think that's who he really is. So.
Well, and the thing is, it'll probably be one of the most over things ever, and it'll never go away. So we will be forced for bro dude all the time. So let's go to Dark here or not Dark, Dynamite. They opened up with the tag match. So they're furthering the Alley angle because she shows up at the end, but she really wasn't anything that affected the match.
This whole storyline, I'm just
I'm still waiting for more of the payoff, because her and Brandy had a tag match and they did some stuff with it, but it's this story is really not for me. I'm waiting for something cool to happen, but I think it's just going to be one of those stories that I'm never going to care about that story.
I assume what they're going to do with it is they're trying to make QT a bigger deal,
right?
Than what he is. I guess.
Well, I mean, doing we were saying the other week, they're doing something is better than nothing, but it's just weird. I am curious at this point to what the payoff to the story is, though. She's probably going to double cross him, or is he going to double cross Dust? Something's going to happen out of that, but
Dustin buries QT, and he's like, "No, I'm the guy that's going to get the credit."
Right. We do get the diamond cutter that QT Marshall had traveled back in time to give DDP that he's then reclaimed.
Yes.
So want to correct that. We'll eventually try to get an answer from QT Marshall. Find out if there's any truth to that, because I believe that is how it works. I think it has something to do with the Apple. But I mean, overall, like match-wise, like QT's made to look pretty good during it. He gets like some good stuff in, but yeah, I didn't have any, like 99% sure that there's not going to be a title change with this. So, which is fine. There was a lot of controversy as to why, because there's like the number one contender match for the tag team titles, but that story makes sense where Best Friends wanted Jericho and Sammy, but they would only give them the match if they put up their number one contendership. So that explains it. That also sets it up, though, that you can treat like number one contender. If you have a title match, you can leverage that for something. So that's fine, which makes sense. I mean, with pro wrestling. But yeah, Zach moves on. Who knows what's going on with QT and Alley? I don't know.
So then you had Anna Jay versus Marilyn Manson.
Yeah, I thought this was going to be a match that Anna Jay won. Like, she was making her debut. They made it seem like a big deal. And she just gets wrecked. Like, like I was sitting there and I was watching it and I was like, I don't know what just happened. Like, I was like, was there an injury? Like, what happened?
Well, yeah, this character, I don't know. I'm definitely not for it.
Yeah, the Abaddon?
Yeah.
I don't know. I'll have to see more of it. Like, usually that kind of a gimmick, I guess, or character, I either like it or it's just awful to me.
Well, those characters, I mean, you can't do a lot with them. I mean, you know what I'm saying? I mean,
it's just, yeah. There's a lot of work to make it work, so to say.
Yeah.
Now there is something that was interesting out of this is the Dark Order comes out and actually helps Anna Jay out of the ring.
So I guess she's a Dark Order member.
Well,
now,
I was reading different theories where some of it might have been to show Colt that the Dark Order is not all bad. Some of it was maybe they were recruiting Anna Jay. It would make sense that they would have at least a woman, in their organization.
Sure.
Some people call it a cult, but that's not what it is. Obviously, it's very different. But they also gave Colt like this weird envelope, which we find out later. Like basically, him and Mr. Brody are going to have a tag match. So they're taking their time with this because this is what, week 3 of this whole thing. Where
might be longer, but yeah,
3 or 4. Well, I think there was one where Colt was looking at something, and then he lost, and he spoke with Brody. Then they helped him up after the one match. I think after that, maybe. It's hard to tell, like the way the shows run now, but yeah. So like they've been taking their time with it, but we'll see what happens. We get some MJF action against Billy.
Billy, I like how they said Billy, leader of the gun club.
Yes.
So they can put the gun in there, yes.
In case you don't know who the gigantic man in the kiss tights are, like the lip tights.
Yes.
So this whole match, like, one, again, Billy Gunn is so big compared to everybody, and you never realized it in WWE that he was a monster of a human being. I mean, this whole thing, it pretty much you expected MJF to win somehow. They had some good cheating with, basically Austin distracting Aubrey, and then Wardlow working on Billy's leg, doing stuff like that. You get some stuff between MJF and Jungle Boy during the match, and then you get the finish. Like, I mean, it was MJF's matches aren't the most amazing thing. It's his character work, I think, more than anything that makes him interesting. But he basically the whole Dynamite ring and knocks out Billy with a punch, gets the win. And then all of a sudden you get this crazy pull apart with Jurassic Express where they're basically using it to set up the Wardlow Luchasaurus having a fight finally. Which apparently they said is going to be a lumberjack match.
Yep.
I my assumption is this thing just goes crazy, and then they have a proper match at Fyter Fest, probably.
Probably.
Because they've done like a real... With many things, they have done a slow burn to these two. What do you think when these two have a fight? Or are they just going to literally hit each other as hard as they can and for like 10 minutes and call it a day?
So Luchasaurus, I've watched them wrestle.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not really... Because all he does is kicks.
Lots of kicks and jumping around.
Yeah, so Wardlow, I've only seen him wrestle against Cody, and I mean, Cody's going to make you look good no matter what.
Right.
So,
well, and he's like, he's thrown some jobbers and broke their hips, I think.
So, I don't know. I'm sensing that it might be kind of a train wreck, which is why they maybe made it into a lumberjack. So,
could be
starts
like,
getting really stupid.
The intent is to just continue them not properly having a match, maybe. Like, they just kind of fight some, and then it just breaks down.
Exactly.
Because, like, basically, Wardlow's just had, like, the enhancement matches, and Cody's been his only serious competition. But, like we were talking back then, like, Wardlow definitely held his end up. So,
sure.
But yeah, like, Luchasaurus' style and Cody's is very different. So,
yes.
I'm curious as to what the actual result is going to be of this thing, how it'll play out. But I will definitely be watching.
Be the best thing ever. So.
Yeah. So, Alex Marvez and Jericho. Yeah, just building up Jericho and Orange Cassidy. Like, that's been working for a while.
So, I assume, see what you think about this. I assume, what's his face? What's his name?
Cassidy? Jericho?
Who is he?
Wait, who?
Jericho's partner. What's his name?
Sammy.
I can't think the guy's name. Sammy. My God. So I assume Sammy, at the end of this year, is probably going to leave the Inner Circle. I assume.
Could very well be. I mean, he's definitely getting bigger. Like, I've grown from being like lukewarm, I guess. Like, obviously he was good in the ring, but from what he does on the show, and like it got me to where I check out his vlog from time to time. His is hit or miss too, but there's still some funny stuff that goes on it. But as a character, I've grown to like him. Like, he's a heel, and I want him to get beat up, and he gives me that pretty often where something crazy happens to him. So, but yeah, he feels like someone who's going to be a big deal. Like, at this point, like he's gotten better on the mic and everything else, like improvements all around. He got he went from the extra small trunks to the small trunks. I appreciate that. Because he looks super young, so it doesn't make me feel creepy. Like I'm watching like young children in their underwear fight. I can go back to feeling like it's adults in their underwear fighting.
Yes, much better.
Yes. But we got Britt Baker, one of my favorite parts of wrestling at this point, had the little laundry line to send notes to Tony Schiavone throughout this.
Yes. That
was fantastic. Unfortunately, she put Tony on a friendship timeout during this show.
Yes. So do you think Britt Baker's leg is messed up? Because why did he keep hinting that her and Swole was going to fight each other? If Britt Baker is, legitimately hurt. Right.
Well, I think she's like, she'll have her match back for sure. I think they're it's something for Swole to do and something for Baker to do. And honestly, like, Swole's hilarious.
Sure.
I like her gear diversity. Because she had like the Power Rangers gear. She's got like some normal gear. I'm not sure what it was like that tuxedo style for this one. I don't know if that's a play off a character or not.
Yeah.
Hard to say, but like her gear really sticks out to me. I appreciate the effort that goes into her gear. Because like the Young Bucks are real good about that. Where they look kind of, it's the same but different. Like hers sticks out to me. Like, she has a lot of different gear. What's that?
I said Kenny Omega used to be good at it.
The ones he wears all the time suck. I don't understand. I just don't like them.
Yes.
But yeah, so I would assume they'll eventually have something, but it's letting Big Swole show some character. And then they had what was supposed to be the Rebel cam. That's why you got the weird shot of Swole, apparently. So
Sure.
whether they needed to or not, I like that they just pointed out that was intended to be a camera to be able to check in with Rebel, driving Britt around. Did you need it or not? No, but at least it actually makes sense as far as a reason for there to be a camera there.
So, moving on to Cody and Arn Anderson coming out.
Yeah.
Did you think that Arn Anderson was kind of sowing the seeds that Cody? What was Cody? It seems like something was happening here. Like there was some like hidden meeting. Like, is Cody leaving the Nightmare Collective? Is he?
Well, yeah, because they were talking about like, is he even part of the Elite? Well, and then you get Arn, where during the match he like pulls Cody away from the ropes, which is definitely more heel territory for sure.
Exactly. Yeah.
And Cody's talking about feeling on his own.
Mm-hmm.
So, and you have him and Tully scouting FTR.
Yeah.
So
I don't know. I think they're
Cody's going to be a horseman.
Thinking so.
I would be okay personally. I know there's going to be people who are like, you can't mess with that. But if you got Tully and Arn involved, and I would assume at this point, Shawn Spears, Cody, and FTR would be the most likely pairing of the four if they did it that way.
Yeah.
As long as they continue the rebuild of Shawn Spears, like the direction they're going and how they've done it, I'm okay with that as a story. Like there's been some continuity to it. I can't say that word today. Shawn Spears was on the AEW Unrestricted podcast, and they were talking about, he was like, yeah, I didn't even tell, like, where he had Tully's face on his boxers. He's like, I didn't tell him that was going to happen either. So if he was watching it at home, then he saw that. But he was like, I think it led to one of the best promos in a long time from somebody. He's like, Tully was fired up.
So I wonder if that actually was a real motion. Like, what in the world?
I think because him saying that they didn't do it, and then they're like, but it, because it's Shivani and Aubrey are the hosts, basically. They're like, well, the whole thing is played out really well. And then he was like, well, yeah, maybe we fell into that, or maybe we actually kind of had it planned out to go this route. And
Spears, he's really good. He doesn't really, you never know with him. You never know if he's working you. There is so-called fake interview, real interviews, So,
right. Well, and the thing is, I could totally see, because like throughout that interview, he talked every so often, it'd come up like his freedom. And he was like, when he did the Shawn Spears News Network, he said something to the effect of, he was like, I wrote like 3 things down on a piece of paper, and then be like, this is kind of what I want to do. And they're like, yeah, go ahead and do it. So I could see if you're giving someone who's been around as long as that, who just wants to do different stuff for a while, be like, here's what I want to do. And especially once it became like the pandemic where Tully wasn't going to be able to be around, be like, hey, I want to do some stuff that's just fun, but we could use that and then have Tully be mad about it and get me back on like a more serious path. But it's lets me do a few things that I wanted to do that I think be kind of fun or funny, and then it makes sense. So I could see someone having that idea because it works out pretty good, and recenters him. So as long as they continue that on, and like what we saw on Dark from him, where it was a more serious version, and he actually won a match with a sharpshooter. So, which he talked about that in the interview, where he actually called Bret Hart and asked him if he could use the sharpshooter. And Bret was like, sharpshooter, not a... I would like if someone like contacts Sting and they call it the Scorpion Deathlock, so you can eventually get that match.
That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, I feel like that probably happened somewhere. I know Bret Hart and Sting had a match in WCW. I'm sure they talked about that. But yeah, something like that. But yeah, and I guess Bret was like, well, as long as you win a match or two with it, please. Because no one, that's not a finishing move anymore, so he uses that. But for the Cody match, but yeah, I agree. There's something going on there where I imagine we'll see it before the end of next year.
So, yeah, let's hope.
2021.
So Ricky Starks, he didn't really impress me that much in NWA. So what do you think about him?
I didn't really care one way or the other in NWA. I know a lot of people were into him, but I didn't see a lot of his stuff, to be fair. But I mean, he's definitely competent. He's he's someone where you can see like, oh, that guy's got some personality. So, and I thought the match was real good. So,
I mean, I thought the match was good.
And
he just,
I need to see him a little bit more. Because like I watched NWA Power some, but not, I didn't follow it regularly. So I don't have a lot of opinions about him. He is someone though that after seeing this, I do kind of want to go back and watch more of his stuff to see what it is. It's like, so that tells me that I probably like him. If I see someone that's like, you know what, I want to go watch some of their old stuff and see what else, what their other matches are. Because there's a lot of people that I don't have that. Like, it took a long time before, like with Hangman Page, where I was like, oh, I need to go see some of his old stuff. And then it's like, oh, it's just not as good because it's not what he is now. Like, he's just very bland. Now, Orange Cassidy, that was someone where I was like, I need to see what's going on with this guy because there's a lot of talk about it and it's kind of interesting. It was like, oh, I get it. This is cool. Something different.
So the Young Bucks versus the Super Bad Death Squad.
Yes.
Mouthful right there. So I didn't really watch this match. I don't know what I was doing. I got up and did something. So I didn't really watch any of this. So did you like the match?
Yeah, it was good. Kip and Jimmy, they've built them into a credible tag team that we may never see again due to current events, which is sad in a way because like they're good as a tag team. They have a tag team name. Their gear doesn't necessarily match, but they became a real tag team at that point. This match made me wonder because Matt Jackson is selling the ribs. When the AEW video game comes out, I hope that if you pick Matt Jackson, you start with a random injury to handicap you in every match.
That'd be pretty
like if they do like the body part injury system, like some of the like he starts with like a bad back or midsection or his arms not working, like he's just always injured.
Yes.
Yeah. But yeah, like overall this match was pretty good.
Okay. I see that FDR, I guess, ran in towards the end or something.
Yeah, Butcher and Blade came in to beat up the Bucks, but FDR, like, because FTR showed up and Butcher and Blade showed up, and FTR basically is keeping things fair for the Bucks is really what it comes down to. I'm guessing they were building to an 8-man tag. I don't know if I would assume that's not going to happen now. So Kip might have to find somebody else to tag with. But I would assume they would do the 8-man tag and then the Bucks and FTR get into a fight at the end of it. I feel like that's where they were going to be. But yeah, so I mean, it was a good match and everything, and then all those antics happened. We get more Taz talking with Brian Cage.
And Cage can actually talk. So
yeah, they let him. Well, he's not as good as Taz, but Taz is like, he seems to be in the zone right now. Like, I would assume that this was something that he actually wanted to do.
Well,
so he's like super
Cage
into it.
Do promos in Impact, so I mean, I know the guy can do promos,
right? But either way, like I really wonder at this point if Cage might win. Like, I don't think he is, but they're starting to make me think there's a possibility.
Again, I thought, who did he? Oh, I thought Brody Lee was going to win the last one. So I don't know what AEW does.
Right.
They confuse me.
Right. Well, but that's good though, because at least you're not like, there is zero chance that this dude's going to win.
Sure.
Like with the Cody and Jericho one, it was like, pretty sure Jericho's winning this, but then you're like, you know what? Maybe he's not. Like, I like to not be sold. That be like, because like Drew and Bobby Lashley at Backlash or whatever it was, Drew's not losing that match. Now, throughout the match, I wanted Lashley to win, but I did not think there was a chance that was going to happen.
Yeah, that's
like
true.
not truly. Where this, like I think it's like 80-20. Like I'm almost certain Moxley wins, but I wouldn't rule it out.
I just remember watching those old WCW matches with Hogan having the belt, and people just keep coming up, and they're like, surely someone's going to beat Hogan here, and Hogan would never lose. So,
yep.
you know.
Well, and that was like Cena, too, when he had his reign. Or
so
Triple
it's
H.
good to be thrown off like that. It's good storytelling.
Yeah, well, I would just rather there be a little bit of doubt in when it's going to be like a bit, like, obviously, if Moxley is defending against some random dude on a Dynamite or something, I don't I'm really not expecting that to happen. But when they build it to an event, like Fyter Fest it's just a regular show, but it's hyped up as an event more so. So
yeah,
I like that there's some question to it. Poor Britt Baker was found in a dumpster, which led to many pictures of her with the Sesame Street cast as her as Oscar the Grouch. I don't know if you saw any of those.
I have, yeah.
I like that she was yelling at Rebel because she was like, why is there a camera crew and lighting? Why would you bring this stuff? Like, they acknowledge it. So there was also Jake Hager earlier in the show was watching TV like a normal human being where he was standing in front of it.
Yes.
So,
yes.
But yeah, we get to the main event is your favorite tag team, the Best Friends, against Jericho and Sammy.
Yeah. I was so rooting. I was so rooting for Chris Jericho and Sammy.
I really thought they were going to win. Well, I had two lines of thought. I thought, one, that they were going to win, and Jericho was going to be the first person to hold both titles, basically. Like,
sure.
First two holder.
Yep.
But then I was like, it sure feels like they're trying to build to an Orange Cassidy match with him. Well, how did they make that work? And so I wasn't sure, but I really thought there was a good chance that Jericho and Sammy would win this thing because, like, the Inner Circle would get involved or something. But so I want to jump to the end real quick because I have a question for during the match. But the end result is Orange Cassidy is one of the cameramen. Did you notice, like, did you even think for a second that there was something up with the cameraman during the match until he interfered? Yeah, I did.
Usually in the past, when that's been done in wrestling matches in WCW or WWE, I can usually I was like, okay, that cameraman is out of place. But yeah, I didn't notice anything.
Well, it seemed like he was actually doing, like, they were actually using his camera shot.
Yes.
So I don't know if he actually, actually knows how to run a camera or something, or what it was. But, and I mean, he's not like a super big dude. Like, obviously, if you would like send Brian Cage out there you'd be like, that is a jacked up camera dude. What is going on here? It would draw a ton of attention.
Sure.
But due to the face mask and everything else right now, it worked out perfect. And then I actually was trying to go back and rewatch it because I was like, was he there the whole time? Like, was there anything that gave it away?
Have to be. Yeah.
And I didn't think there was. There was someone pointed out that in the beginning of the match, I think Chuck Taylor looks at the cameraman, like looks at Orange and winks, but you would never, like I don't know that you would ever catch that. You would just assume he was doing it at someone in the crowd or something.
Sure, yeah.
But yeah, so I was just curious because I did not until he grabs the leg, and that's what leads basically like that throws everything for Best Friends to win. I didn't see it coming at all. So.
Yep.
Let me see here. But I mean, in general, like, so you got Matt Hardy on commentary where he is praising Sammy, basically saying he needs to get away from the evil of Chris Jericho. And we have
unkillable Matt Hardy.
Yes. Which is pretty close to normal Matt Hardy, I think.
Yes.
Have you ever seen the stuff with Big Money Matt?
Some.
I haven't seen any of it yet, so I need to go and watch that because I saw people saying that they hope he picks Big Money Matt to fight. So I need to see what that's all about. I'm assuming it's pretty entertaining knowing him. But yeah, so they're going to end up with a match out of it where I guess he picked Attitude Era Matt Hardy, or Extreme Matt Hardy or something. I don't know. But either way, so yeah, the finish, like, they end up winning the match. Best friends do, so they're still going to get their title shot. Orange Cassidy beats the crap out of Jericho, essentially.
Yes.
Which is the most, like, serious we've seen him. So, do you think at their match that they're going to have, is that going to be, like, Orange Cassidy, like, full on, like, wrestling mode and not like Fire Ant or something mode? Or do you think he's still going to do the Orange Cassidy stuff?
It's a shame that they would do that with no crowds, but yeah, I can see it actually, because who knows when crowds are going to come back. So maybe.
Right. Well, and I could see Jericho wanting to do something a little different with it, but I also seem like Jericho would want to be able to play with the normal beginning to an Orange Cassidy match. That seems like something that Jericho would just jump all over. So
now,
I'm real curious.
Now, I have a question here. Like you said, best friends with the match, so that was kind of the end of Dynamite. But far as AEW and maybe even WWE, do you think the reason it's not as good as it once was is because there's too much of people actually on? Like, Jericho has a podcast, Sammy has a blog, and everything. It takes away some of the seriousness of the storylines, and it makes it more jokey, and you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, sometimes.
Do you think that hurts the product? Because can you picture, like, Sting and Hogan when they was at the peak getting ready to fight each other? If you saw the off behind the scenes, Sting and Hogan, like, having a beer together at a restaurant,
right? It'd be kind of weird. Yeah.
Now,
I don't know, because there's very little. I'm trying to think of a way to put this, because there's a lot of the storylines or character arcs or stuff that honestly aren't that good. Like,
sure.
we talk about Brandon Cutler and the Librarian as being one of the more interesting stories, which is a nothing story, but it's been treated in such a way that it's like, oh, I really hope they get a win one day, like that kind of thing, or I want to see them have a match so that one of them has the bragging rights forever over the other. And then there's other stuff where it's like, it's pretty good, like anything involving MJF, because he just sticks to character all the time of being a horrible human. Like, it doesn't ever take away if he's on something, because he plays it off as, I've agreed to do this and try to be as civil as I can. Yeah. The way they frame it.
Are you cutting somebody's hair right now?
I was playing with a set of nail clippers that I just found, and I keep putting them down, but I just couldn't resist.
It sounds so like the people on the people that are listening to the podcast are probably like me. Is he cutting somebody's hair right now?
I was like, I know that's making a sound, but I can't stop. Like, I've been staring at it the entire time, just wanting to.
Like, I have
just wanting to go. Just wanting to do that the entire time. I just finally gave in. But yeah, I think in some cases it definitely does.
Yeah.
But I think there's so much other stuff that probably hurts more.
Sure.
Like, I mean, just the amount of information we have on it. Like, we kind of, like, we're nobodies, and we can have a pretty reasonable idea on how to guess about what they're doing. That's why, like, with Moxley and Kate, like, the fact that there's even a question in my mind is exciting to me in a way. Where it's like, I can watch a match and really, I might be surprised. Like, what was it?
But the thing is about that is, so Moxley in real life. Doesn't really do a lot of social media stuff.
Yeah.
And Brian Cage doesn't really do a lot of stuff either. So that's what I'm saying. So they've pretty much, you don't really know what's going on because there's no behind the scenes. They're
Right.
not on Being the Elite. So
Yeah, this is
I don't
true. Yeah, I mean, I think it, from a story standpoint, since the way it works, yeah, you're probably right. It probably does hurt it some. But again, if you get people in there who are really doing good in the ring, that's fine. But yeah, because like Jericho will even say on his podcast sometimes, he's like, "Oh, we put our differences aside." But the way he does it versus what you get out of like MJF is very different, because Jericho.
Sure.
From an awful lot of like people talking about stuff, he seems like an okay person that doesn't really hate Orange Cassidy.
Sure.
So, and then when Orange Cassidy is on his show like 2 weeks after Fyter Fest.
That's what I'm saying. So I think that it hurts the Chris Jericho character as far as like being the leader of the inner circle, is that he has a talk show and he
Right.
you know what I'm saying. It takes away
Yeah.
some of the like the leader vibe. Versus like MJF, he's always just a jerk.
Right. Well, yeah, because
all the
Jericho
time.
can't be Le Champion all the time on his podcast.
Exactly.
Yeah,
I don't
because
know.
you're seeing like that different side of Jericho. Although I really like the Jericho podcast, so I'm willing to make that sacrifice.
Sure.
Because he has like a real good mix of wrestling stuff. He'll do like the weird conspiracy stuff where he grabs people with some pretty out there ideas, which I love that stuff.
Sure.
It's like junk food. I just can't help myself to be like, I want to know why this person thinks the way they do. And then he'll have like some musical guests that I usually don't care about, but once in a while there'll be someone on there that I actually want to hear the podcast. So,
True.
all right.
All right. Well, I think we've talked long enough.
Yes.
So
Yeah, we got not a lot of the other stuff, so we'll wrap it up there.
Yep.
Let's see. So we hit some more Harley Quinn. We'll probably have more of that. I'm trying to find out the Jake the Snake and what's his name?
Murder Hawk.
No, when Jake the Snake was wrestling, Sting.
Oh, Jake the Snake and Sting. Yes.
Yeah, some of that stuff, because we still have that to do, and I'm genuinely curious. I also want to find out. I assume Sting and Macho Man had a program at some time together, right?
I know they fought each other when they were in NWO Sting, NWO and Macho Man and Sting. Yes.
Right. I'm curious if they had what interactions they had before. I don't remember any of that stuff, so I want to go back and find, because that seems like that'd be one of those things that would be a really good match.
Well, sure, because Macho Man was a
Yeah.
was a
Well, like
good
it's a shame we never got HBK, like what he became against Macho Man, because I bet that would have
Sure.
been real good too. So,
Oh, sure.
all right, so we'll investigate that. But yeah, we haven't forgot Sting and Jake the Snake. So
Jake
we're still working on
Snakey.
that.
So,
All right, I'm going to hit the
so
stop
you
button.
guys have a great weekend. Just great weekend.
Yeah, stay safe.
Awesome.
Do safe things. 4th of July is
Safe
coming up, so we're not going to tell you to be safe on the 4th of July. So we're telling you now.
Don't-
Carry it over.
Don't stuff mortar shells down your pants and,
Yeah.
and light it. Yeah.
All right. Have a good one, everybody.